Okay, this is a matter of White versus White. Mr. Justin White is present.
Yes, sir.
And I believe Ms. Bethany White is also present. Can you hear me, ma'am? All right, I've got a screen that's got her name on it, but apparently we don't have a good connection yet. Let's see what happens here. Ms. White, can you hear me? If you're trying to speak, we cannot hear you. Check your settings. Ms. White? Ma'am, you've got your microphone muted right now. Well, we're having some difficulty. I'm not quite sure what the problem is. Let me see if I can find a phone number. We'll try that.
Can you hear me okay, Mr. Laflamme?
Yes, sir. We can hear you
Okay.
just fine.
All right, just make sure.
All right, I'm going, Ms. White, if you can hear me, I'm going to try to dial your phone number that's listed on some of the paperwork here. Please answer that call.
Oh, that's my number.
I think you're calling it.
I dialed the number.
Hello, you reached a voicemail adjust.
Okay.
Yeah,
Looks like
yeah, that was my
looks
number,
like
Your Honor.
All right, let me try again. I'm not sure what number I dialed, but this is the one that's listed with her name.
Hello?
Hers is 1, 2.
Is this Bethany White?
Yes, it is.
Apparently we're having trouble with the Zoom hearing, but you can participate by phone. That'll work fine.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. So we're here today on Ms. White's motion for an order to show cause as to why you should not be held in contempt of court, Mr. White, for violating a personal protection order. First of all, I want to make sure you did receive a copy of her affidavit in motion that sets forth what she contends that you did to violate the PPO. Did you receive that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, before we go any further, I do need to advise you of your rights. And give me just a moment to make sure I get it right. You have the right to contest this charge at a contempt hearing. You are entitled to the assistance of an attorney, either one of your choosing or one appointed for you by the court if you cannot afford your own attorney. Do you wish to have the court appoint someone to represent you? You want me to appoint an attorney for you, Mr. White?
No, sir. I had that attorney last time, and he might have he might have steered me wrong a little bit, it looks like. So I just let him go, and I just rather deal with you, honestly.
All right, well, hold on. I also need to advise you that you could face up to 93 days in jail and could be fined up to $500 if you are found guilty of contempt. And that's the mechanism we use to enforce personal protection orders, is the contempt power of the court.
Okay. So I have to decide right now. Do I have to decide right now if I'd like the assistance of an attorney going forward? Is that what you're asking, sir?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
If you don't want an attorney, we'll just go forward today and I'll deal with it today. If you want an attorney.
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine. Let's do it today. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. And let me ask you, do you indeed contest this charge?
Yes, I do not. Yes, I wrote out a little 2-page thing explaining it. And yes, I definitely detested or whatever that means. Yes, sir.
Well, hold on a second. So, Ms. White, I need to put you under oath. Would you raise your right hand, please?
Raised.
You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
I'll state your full name.
Bethany White.
So, Ms. White, you filed an affidavit in motion seeking to hold Mr. White in contempt of court for violating a personal protection order. Can you tell me what it is? And I realize you've written this down already, but I need to take testimony on the issue. Tell me what it is that Mr. White did that you believe is in violation of the personal protection order.
Okay. He placed some mail that he'd taken from the mailbox. He put it back in the mailbox and had a bunch of notes and things written all over the mail. And then the second violation was the next day, where he came by very early in the morning before we were even awake and left a bunch of mail and things and put it inside my van on the steering wheel. And those were like cards and letters.
The day that he placed the mail in the mailbox with notes on it, what date was that?
I'm not positive. I can look at my phone real quick. It was in November.
Your affidavit says November 7th.
Okay, yes. I do have the exact date, so that's right.
So that's correct. And you said it was the next day, so that would have been November 8th that he left mail in your van. And again, additional information in addition to just the mail.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm reading your affidavit.
Okay.
What specifically did he write on the envelopes that he put back in the mailbox on November 7th?
It was a lot of things. I think I sent the pictures to you, at least, of those. It was more just like love notes, love letter type things to try.
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't see that initially. I see it now.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm seeing a envelope addressed to you from Jackson County DHS that says, "Miss you, I miss you, I love you, I love you, call me home, open your window / door," and then a heart.
Yeah, and there was about 4 other envelopes.
Right, and did you recognize his writing on those envelopes?
Yes.
All right, and then the next one, let's see, it's a note, a handwritten note written on letterhead of Richard's Building Supply Company. Are you familiar with that business?
Me?
Yes.
No, I'm not.
All right. I'm seeing Justin loves Beth Faith and always is committed to holding her in the highest regard. Justin sees Beth a perfect piece of good. Justin is thankful for every expression of Beth. And then it goes on. And then on the other side, it says, it might have been the reverse side, I'm not sure. I love you with my heart, written multiple times. And at the end, a forever with a heart sign next to it. The next is a note written on, looks like some kind of brown colored stationery in red ink.
Yeah.
Why am I still writing? Because something inside the little boy part hopes that you see this someday in this lifetime, and it brings joy and love to your heart. Love, Justin Michael White. A P.S. Maybe if nobody knows, we can meet and just hold each other for a bit. A little more written. And then another one. Okay, I'm sorry that I was starting to get mushy. And you recognize all of this as being Mr. White's handwriting.
Yes.
All right. Were there any questions you wanted me to ask her, Mr. White?
No, sir, I don't think so, sir.
All right. So let me hear from you. Would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
And state your full name.
Justin Michael White.
Mr. White, do you deny writing on these envelopes and placing them either in the mailbox or in her vehicle?
I do. Can I give an explanation, sir?
And do you deny writing these letters that
No, I did write.
bear your name?
I did write the letters. Absolutely, sir. Those yeah, I did write the letters.
Okay.
Those are my handwriting.
So how do you explain this envelope that she found in her mailbox that says, I miss you, I love you, I love you. It has a heart with an arrow through it written around her name. Call me home, open your window / door. You deny writing those?
I did write those, sir. Yes, sir. Those are my handwriting.
Okay. And the other letters, I didn't read them in their entirety, but you recognize each of those letters as letters that you either placed in her mailbox or placed on her van.
I did not place them in the mailbox or on her van. If I could give a little explanation, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay. In hindsight, I do realize that sending any kind of correspondence to Bethany was not wise. And I did want to apologize about this situation. However, in my defense, when the representative from your officer originally dropped off the TPO, I was in a lot of shock. I was raking the leaves and blowing up balloons and repainting the kids' rooms. And he sat me down in the house. He was a super nice guy. He had cowboy boots on and white hair, and he sat me down and he read through the PPO with me because I've never experienced anything like this. And he explained to me that I couldn't have no contact with my family after he dropped that off to me. He tried to drop it off the day before, but I wasn't there. But as of the next day, he would check up on me and I would have to be moved out. He said that I was kind of in disbelief that was the case. I was expecting the family to come home at any day. They had already been gone for 3 weeks, and I had not gone over the houses they were at or anything and just dropped them off notes. So he said, after looking over it with me, your representative, that it looked like I could send written correspondence to the family, but I could have no contact whatsoever but just writing notes. He told me to get a lawyer the next day because I needed to move out the rest of that evening. That was at 5 o'clock. He said, tomorrow after you get moved out, I'll give you to the end of the day. You're supposed to be moved out by the morning, but I understand your situation. I know your whole family. I know you're a good guy. You're in shock. So I will give you till the afternoon to move out tomorrow. And when I come, you got to be gone. And I won't, you got to be gone. So just try to work with me, but you can contact them via mail, but you cannot make any contact. If you see them in town, you got to walk the other way. So you need to go get a lawyer and figure this thing out on your end, but you got to be out tomorrow. So I did that. I got out of the house. My dad has been the one who's been dropping mail off back and forth. In our first hearing, we all agreed together that my dad would be the liaison because he's her pastor, and he is very close to all the things, and he's a respected individual. So he was going to be the one that Bethany could set up time where I could see the kids, and he would drop off any mail and be kind of the contact person between us. And we all approved that. So during this time, my dad has been dropping off lots of different stuff back and forth. I have only communicated with letters, cards, and some just letters and cards and notes. And I've spent a lot of time doing a lot of paintings. I spent over 40 hours doing paintings for my children, and my mom laminated them all. So my dad's been dropping that stuff off the whole time back and forth. Whenever Beth has needed anything, she's needed at least a half a dozen times, Your Honor. She's needed stuff for DHS, paperwork, birth certificates. She's contacted my dad at least a half a dozen times on the low end needing stuff. And every time she's needed anything, my dad's let me know. I've gotten it together within a couple hours. I've even missed a couple appointments, and I've gotten that stuff together, gotten it right over to her the same day every time. So he's been that liaison going back and forth. Now, my friend, I was working with my friend, and I did have some mail one day, and I gave him a whole packet of my mail, and he was going to drop that off in the mailbox. So he did that on 11/6. So that's the only awareness that I have of anyone under my awareness dropping anything off at the property or being on the property, but my dad and my one friend, and I have never been on the property. So he dropped off the mail on 11/6. He said, I called and talked to him after getting this, and he said that he dropped it off in the mailbox like I asked, but some of the mail had fallen down in his car. And the next day he did drop off some more mail in her van in the evening. So that would have been on 11/7, I believe. He dropped off more mail in her van in the evening. Now, these were the only letters, Your Honor, that I have ever written to Beth and dropped off, and they were not dropped off by me. They were dropped off on 11/6 and 11/7. I gave them to that. The only other person that I know of is my buddy, and I gave him a packet when we were working earlier in the day at an appointment on 11/6. Our first hearing with you for the PPO, because that guy told me to get a lawyer. I got a lawyer, paid $2,500. He was horrible. And he told me I could write written communication. He said I could write 100 letters if I wanted to. That's all I can do. So our first hearing was on 11/12. That was my son's birthday. These two letters, the only correspondence that I have written were written in between the time that I had the PPO issued on the 26th and the 12th when we met with you. So I only wrote letters to Bethany before we had our court hearing with you. And she filed this paperwork of these letters before we had our first court hearing with each other the last time. So these were filed on the 9th with your office. We had our court hearing on the 12th. Mr. White? Yes, sir.
Mr. White?
Yes, sir.
Let me pause you for just a minute.
Yes, sir.
So Ms. White, do you acknowledge that the only time you've received letters of this nature from Mr. White are the occasions that are addressed in your motion?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let me do this. Mr. White's explanation, coupled with my review of the PPO, is I don't believe there's been a clear violation of the PPO. The PPO does not prohibit sending mail or other communications. It does prohibit harassment by text, mail, email, or social media. Sending her love notes and love letters at a time when she doesn't want to hear those things from you, and you know now she doesn't want to hear those things.
Yes, sir.
I would consider to be harassing, particularly now that you've been informed of that. But merely sending the mail itself was not a violation. I'm making clear today, sir, that since you know she doesn't want to receive those kinds of communications from you, if you were to continue to do that, I would consider that to be harassing and could very well subject you to a violation. I don't believe there's been a clear violation established. And ma'am, I believe everything you said about what you received, but under the strict language of the PPO, I do not believe that there is a violation today. If there's any further, I would not hesitate to find a violation. So as of now, I'm dismissing the show causes. Ma'am, was there anything you wanted to say?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say the only thing about that is I do have 2 texts from his dad that his dad sent me that were from Justin, and Justin had said he put them in the van and he did the mail. There's another text saying, I'll come by and pick up mail from the mailbox if she puts it in there. So I do have an actual text where he does tell his dad in his words, I came and put this in Beth's car early this morning.
All right.
And I did send that to his dad.
I appreciate that, ma'am, but I do not have that in front of me today. I can only rule based on what's in front of me today. I am simply going to give Mr. White a very strong warning. Don't go on the property. Don't do anything to violate the PPO, and do not send any more love letters or anything else that would be considered harassing. But I am going to dismiss the show cause today.
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It has been 11 weeks since I've seen my children. You did recommend that she could talk to my father and set up a mutual place at his residence for me to see the kids. I did not get to spend Thanksgiving or Christmas. And just for recollection, I said that all of the accusations when she placed the PPO were false, all of them. So there is no proof.
All right, let me stop you again.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Mr. White?
Yes, sir.
This PPO does not stop you from seeing your children.
Okay.
It does not. It only prohibits you from threatening to kill or injure them, or actually injuring them.
So how do we set up a time?
Wait, let me finish. Let me finish. The prohibitions as to all the other things, following, appearing, sending mail, interfering with efforts, all of that, those all are simply directed to Ms. White. If you're not seeing your children, I can't deal with that in a PPO case. What you need to do is initiate a custody parenting time complaint in the court system to obtain visitation rights for your children. That's the only thing you can do. I'll explain to you like I am now about how this order impacts parenting time, but it does not dictate parenting time. Parenting time has to be handled.
I tried to contact the friend of the court and see what I could do, because it's been 11 weeks and I did see my kids. The friend
of the court can do nothing for you until there is an open custody case in our county. You have to initiate a custody case before the friend of the court can do anything.
Okay, sir.
Before I can do anything, you have to initiate a custody case.
Do you mind so can I just do, and I can pursue that with your courthouse later today?
What I would suggest to you, you have internet access?
Yes, sir.
Go to the website www.michiganlegalhelp.org.
Okay.
That provides lay people with information on how to initiate court actions and provides you with guidance for how to do that. I can't give you legal advice. No one in the courthouse can give you legal advice. All we can tell you is there's nothing we can do without there being an open custody case.
Okay. And that, because they mentioned if there was a PPO open, they couldn't open up a custody case, because I have worked pretty diligently to try to do this. I also have purchased another rental.
Mr. White, that is not true. The fact there's a PPO does not prohibit you from initiating a custody case.
Awesome.
Does not prohibit you from requesting specific parenting time and or custody of your children.
Okay, great.
The PPO is not for that purpose.
Okay. All right, sir. So what
All
do
right,
I
need to
so
move.
is there any way
Go
to
to
get
this-
a motion that I can see my kids on it? Because she did let me see the kids this week for one time for 2 hours, and it was the best time of all of our lives, but it was only for 2 hours. And so it's the first
Go to
time in
the-
11 weeks we've seen each other. Is there any way to get a court thing that I could see them on a regular basis, or 50-50 or something?
Go to the website, file a custody case, and
Okay.
then your requests can be addressed.
All right, sir, I will do that.
All right, that concludes our hearing. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, and I don't know who Hannah was, but she's gone. And now we have, I believe, everyone here in White versus White. Shannon, you can put us on the record now.
Go ahead.
Okay, looks like we've got two matters up today, Ms. Laux.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. We have our objections to the friend of the court's temporary order, and we also had a motion concerning the stimulus payments.
Let's go forward with the objections first.
Okay, as I cited in the actual written objections, my client has serious concerns about the safety of the children in unsupervised situations with their father. She feels that we can provide additional information through an evidentiary hearing, and we'd also like at least the older children to do an in-camera with the court concerning their preferences.
There are 4 children here.
Yes.
What are the ages?
I'm up for you here.
They're 9, 8, 5, and 3.
Thank you. And up until this recommendation, what kind of parenting time has been taking place, if any, Ms. Laux?
They were having very limited contact, basically no contact until the order was entered.
Assuming I were to order supervised parenting time, who would be the supervisor?
Well, I think my client would prefer the visitation center, but I suppose an alternative might be Mr. White's parents, if they would be willing.
And at least if you could outline for me, what are the concerns with Mr. White?
Well, there's been a history of domestic violence. There is currently a PPO in place. The children have witnessed violent behavior between their parents. Some of the older son, I believe, has even attempted to intervene and been injured. So there are definitely concerns about Mr. White has some erratic behavior that is concerning. And as a result of that, the children are fearful of him. And so they've expressed that they don't want to spend time alone with dad. As I expressed in the actual objections, my client has they had some real serious religious convictions concerning her marriage. So it was very difficult for her to even separate from her husband, but she felt that that was necessary for her safety and the safety of the children.
So,
Can I speak to that?
certainly, Mr. White, let me, well, go ahead. Let me hear from you before I say anything more.
Well, I would like to say just on record that every single thing that she just said was not even close to the truth, was just a blatant lie. So the kids have everything she just said. So I really don't know exactly how to respond to that. I haven't been with the kids very much because there was a PPO pulled and then I was kicked out of the house within one day. And then I came back to you to try to fight that PPO. And Bethany had gone with someone and written up like a 5-page thing of false accusations. And then you upheld the PPO. And then we did get parenting time with a friend of the court, thank God. And I was granted every other weekend. And we did do one weekend last weekend and it went just wonderful, beyond wonderful. And if there's any crying with the kids, it would be with the kids when I dropped them off back with Bethany. They were all weeping because we had such a wonderful time together. There's never been any history of any abuse because there hasn't been any abuse. I've never striked my children. I've never spanked my children. There has never been any abuse with Bethany or the children ever. We already established that in the first couple court hearings. And so for them to say that there is abuse to the kids or they shouldn't be left alone, there's not one person in the entire world that has ever seen me abuse. I've never abused a kid, much less my own children or Bethany. So that's untrue. And I don't really know what else to say about that because it's just fully false. So when I had the kids, we went to the park, we played basketball, we played video games, we went and bought coloring books. We did a tea party with my daughter. We went swimming, we built sandcastles, we went to the park, we went swinging, we went hiking, all this within 2 days. This is the first 2 days I've seen my kids since October, and we are attached at the hips. So I do not know where these false accusations are coming from, but if we could, and even if the kids were to testify, there's the kids, we are in full love with each other and always have been. So I don't understand even why, unless they've been, and I haven't seen the kids for many months. And so, yes, even in the first time being with them, all their love tanks are pretty low. So they all slept with me in my bed. We couldn't get them in their own beds in the evening because they all wanted to sleep with me. And I spent as much time with each individual child as I could, but they need their father. And I've only been a force of love and of kindness and of compassion and of good in their life. So I read through this thing about the objections to proposed temporary order against me of not seeing the kids. And there is not one thing in here, sir, that has any validity at all. And so I really don't know how to respond or to say, like, to try to make it what it is or what it is not, because it's just not even true. So if I had something to like kind of say about that, I would, but I don't. Just reading through here, there's nothing and never has been with the children. And so I'm just kind of a little bit confused at all of this. I know it's all religious because I stepped out of the Baptist faith. And so the churches, Bethany's gone to quite a few churches and gotten a lot of support, and the pastors have all told her to separate from me. But in our heart of hearts, none of us want to separate. It's only her religious beliefs and her guidance from her pastorals, and none of them have even talked to me. If they were to talk to me, they would see that we really do believe the same. I just don't believe exactly the way the independent, fundamental, Bible-believing, separated Baptists believe. I've been trying to bring all religions together, all denominations within our city together as much as I possibly can with the little bit of wisdom that I have. And this has caused problems, and I have pulled back from all of that. The last thing I want to do is cause problems with anyone. I'm trying to bring peace to where I was growing up and do my best to flow out of my heart. So there has never been anything against the children. I don't even understand these accusations. They're beyond not true. We had a wonderful time together. I'm the oldest of 10 kids, sir. So I have raised 10 kids since a child in the home, cooking, cleaning.
So,
And
Mr.
I've raised, yes, sir.
Mr. White, let me stop you. So I hear you pretty loud and clear. All of
Okay,
these statements in your view are false. So I'm
absolutely.
faced with a situation where I have allegations that are serious and concerning, and I have denials of those allegations. The only way I can really evaluate those allegations is to have a hearing where I receive testimony. What I need to figure out is what to do in the meantime. If the allegations are true, they're very concerning. And on the other hand, I don't want to keep you entirely from your children. So the proposal that was made as a temporary measure is that your visits would be supervised by your parents. So what I would envision, assuming they are amenable to that, is during the times when the children are scheduled for your weekends in this temporary order, they would go to your parents, and you could spend as much time with them there at your parents until I can take some testimony and decide where the truth lies here. Is that
Why?
I know you. Hold on. I'll give you a chance. I know that's not your first choice. I get that. I'm looking at something that honors the allegations until I have a chance to get to the bottom of them, but that also honors your connection with your children. And again, it's not ideal, but is this something that's workable with as far as your parents are concerned, if you know?
I mean, we're all very busy, and I would like to have the children with me in my home. I've done everything possible because I got kicked out to set up a wonderful home and everything. I've worked around the clock to do all this and have all their toys and their beds and have all the food and the parks and everything here for us to play together and have that freedom to try to bring that. And these kids have been continued to be brainwashed that like something's a problem with their father. I've done something wrong religiously, and they're told that I'm against God, and that, you know, my daughter keeps crying when I saw her and kept telling me, "Why are you going to hell, Dad?" So both of my kids, well, 3 of the children are very concerned that I'm going to hell, and that's what they're getting from their other religion, you know, just from the church. And I understand that, and I'm working with that, and that's fine. And only time will heal this with them eventually throughout their life, and so they'll understand. But to have them separated even more off of this, there's not been one accusation in all of this since the PPO. So I don't even feel like the PPO is right by any means of the imagination. And you told her that I could spend time with the children. I have asked to call them. We have this parenting app, and I've asked to call them ever since I spent time with them last weekend multiple times over the parenting app. And the other parties won't even ever let me talk with the kids over the phone. I've never talked with my children over the phone since October. Not once, sir. And so they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to the kids because they know they're false accusations. And no one's going to come and talk to me because they feel horrible, but they're making this up. So I don't understand how I finally got the kids. They did an investigation with the family of the court. They came to my house. They met with me. They asked so many questions. It was wonderful. She spent an hour and a half asking every question you possibly could. And she did a phenomenal job, at least asking questions and being open and not just saying that I abuse my kids or something, because it's totally false. And that I'm a crazy religious person just because I stopped believing the extreme beliefs that the church was preaching. And I just pulled back a little bit for sake of my family. And so this is only retribution because I stopped going to church. And it's in all the paperwork.
Mr. White, my question was very simple. I know this isn't your first choice. What I'm asking, is it workable? Is it something your parents would.
Probably,
willing to-
I mean, yes, sir. Yeah, we're all willing to do anything for these children. So, I mean, I told the lady I will drive them to school every morning. I mean, I will do, I can't believe I only got every other weekend. I'm a little bit in shock about this whole thing. I don't have a lawyer. I tried to get a lawyer and they said that they already took Bethany on. So that's the lawyer that we're dealing with today, that they took Bethany. They couldn't take me. So I'm trying to do this all on my own and just pray through it and work through it and try to do all the paperwork. So I just don't think it's right by any means of the imagination. And I just don't know how this can even happen. But yeah, my parents are willing to work. I believe they're very busy on the weekends. I'm willing to work. We're willing to do whatever we have to do to make these children get back with their father and back in a good, healthy situation as well, and balance and work with everyone. Absolutely.
Okay, Ms. Laux, before I rule on that, I want to hear about the stimulus payments now.
Oh, Your Honor, since I filed the motion, Ms. White was able to recover the $7,000 that was due to her and the children from the most recent payment from the joint bank account. But she is still owed $600 from the first payment. She was able to get some of that money, but then Mr. White put a stop on her getting any more. So she's owed $600 from the first stimulus payment and the full $3,000 from the second stimulus payment. So $3,600 is currently owing to her for her share, for her payment, and that owing to the children.
Has the second stimulus come through yet?
Yeah, the second one came through at the beginning of this year. And then that was the so she and the children should have gotten $600 per person, or $3,000.
I'm confused. You told me.
Yes, I speak to that.
You told me she got 7,000. What was that from?
That was the most recent one, the one we just got in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, I got you.
The $1,400 per person.
The third stimulus has arrived. She got it.
Yes.
What we're talking about are the first and the second.
Correct.
So
she got a portion of the first, but short of $600, and she didn't get any of the second. So she and the children are owed $3,000 for that.
So $3,600.
Correct.
All right. And Mr. White, you did receive all of those payments in full?
No, sir. Bethany filed a PPO, so I haven't been able to talk to her. The first time I dropped off money, they pulled a PPO violation against me and said that I stepped on the property and I had to go with you, and you let that go. There was some cards. They didn't show any of the cards or notes I gave the kids, but they did say that or the money, but I dropped off money twice and they filed a PPO violation against me. So I wasn't able to continue to do that, and I've been able to talk to her. I do have out all of so with the stimulus, the first stimulus came through in April. We paid off family debts with that. It was about $4,000. The second stimulus came through and right there. And when the second stimulus came through, I was still paying all the family debt, all the family bills at the house. I was kicked out. It was right at the PPO time. And I have a breakdown of every bill I have paid since I've been kicked out. And I put them in a month categories here. So with the stimulus, I was paying all the family bills. So when that stimulus money came through that Monday, I had already that Monday morning paid all the family bills waiting for that stimulus to come through. So within 15 minutes of it coming through that Monday morning, Bethany was at the bank and had drained all the money out. So all those checks bounced on that checking account. So I had to go to my brother, which runs Alpha and Omega Construction in town. And I've worked for him for many years off and on when I pastored. And I asked him for a $2,000 help because Bethany took all that stimulus money. I couldn't talk to her and I had all the bills coming through on the bank account that morning. So he gave me $2,000 on that second stimulus. I went and put it in the bank and covered all those bills and then asked the bank to shut that account down so that when it happened again. So they did that.
So Ms. Laux, from what I'm hearing, I think I'm going to have to receive testimony. If in fact, stimulus money was used to pay family bills, I certainly would be receptive to that. But I need to know what the facts are, and you deserve to know the facts with proof that shows where the payments went. So I'm willing to address that as well. My immediate concern was the latest stimulus. It looks like she got that. So at least that initial pressure on her is off. So what I'm
And she
going
got
to,
the other one. And she got the other one, sir. She's gotten all the stimulus bills,
You know-
and I'm the,
and
Yes, sir.
I'll hear testimony about all of that, sir. This morning was just a motion hearing to figure out where we go from here. So where we're going to go from here is until I have a chance to conduct an evidentiary hearing and hear from both of you and any other witnesses, I am going to order that the parenting time awarded to you in the temporary order must be observed at your parents under their supervision.
why? What's the reason for that when I've done everything right?
Mr. White, I already explained that. I've got allegations that say you didn't,
Okay, all right.
and I got you saying you did do everything right. I
All right.
can't
All
tell
right.
who's telling the truth without taking testimony.
All right, sound good. All right, sir.
And then I decide who's more credible, which witnesses are more credible, what the facts are, and then I make a ruling based on that.
What do I need to do to
It's,
get together? What do I need to do to get together witnesses? Because I don't have a lawyer. Can I get any help in any of this? I've just had
If
just
you-
nonstop.
Well, in terms of talking to people and asking them to come willingly, that's something you can easily do on your own. If there's somebody that you believe has favorable testimony that you would like to compel, what you can do is get a subpoena from the clerk's office, fill it out, and they will send it upstairs. I will sign it. It's still your obligation to get the subpoena served on the witness, and any adult can do that service. You cannot do it personally, but you can get another adult to serve it. You can also hire a process server if you like. They're a little bit better at doing that, but obviously they charge a fee for the service.
So if I want to get someone to testify on my behalf to try to fight these things, then I would find someone that would anyone that would say that this hasn't happened, and then I would have that, and if I wanted to, then I could just have them as my witness, and then if I wanted to, no matter who I have as a witness, I got to serve them a subpoena, sir.
No, sometimes they'll need one to get time off from work.
Right on.
That's just a matter of you get them the subpoena, they show it to their boss so they don't have trouble getting time off from work. But if it's somebody that doesn't have that issue and is willing to appear voluntarily, you don't need a subpoena at all. But if there's someone that is reluctant,
Okay.
like to compel to testify, you have to get a subpoena issued through the clerk's office. They send it up to me for signature. You need to make arrangements for an adult to serve them at least 2 days before the hearing, and ideally more than that, so they've got some advance warning.
Okay. And what do I need to do? I need to get together just like a couple people that have known me my whole life, maybe, or church leaders or something like that have seen me interact with thousands of people, or what?
I'm not going to tell you what witnesses or what they will testify to. That's up to you. If you have people that can rebut what is being said about you in this paperwork, in other words, testify that it's not true, those would be the kind of witnesses that you would want to call.
All right, sir.
Important. The other kind of witness you described is what we call a character witness, and certainly you can call those as well, but I pay a little more attention to the fact witnesses than what I do to character witnesses.
Okay. Do you have any help from your guys' office of any kind of legal help or anything like that from the courthouse?
There's a website, Ms. Laux, I think you know, it's the Michigan Legal Help.
Legal help.
Yeah, I've been on there.
Okay, that's the only one I'm aware of, other than, hiring an attorney, and obviously an attorney experienced in domestic relations law would be your best bet. But
Now, I do have a question. Now, what do? I do a hearing for? I have documents for every month I've been gone and all the money that I've paid. It's like $6,000, $5,000, $3,000, $4,000, $6,000, $5,000 per month that I paid. I have no money left. I paid all of that, and we have family debt of about 29,000. So I've been left with all of the debt, paying everything. And so who do I talk to about all of that? And the child support's $1,000 a month.
All right, well, hold on. In terms of addressing the stimulus funds that Ms. White is trying to recover, you would simply present that evidence to me when we have this hearing.
That makes sense.
So
I would also like to receive copies of any evidence that he's going to present, Your Honor.
yeah, and I expect that from both sides. If you have documentary evidence, copies of messages, whatever it is, something that's in a document form, you need to share it with the other side before you present it to me. That should be done a minimum of 2 weeks before the scheduled hearing date. I'm not going to be able to give you a hearing date today, but I will try to get you in as soon as possible because I realize this is not the kind of parenting time you would desire to have going forward. I am going to interview the 2 older children. I am not going to interview the younger 2. I find that age 5 on down is it's just not, it's not practical. Older ones, even as young as 8, sometimes it's hard to get them to talk and to make an expression. They typically love both parents. They don't want to hurt either parent. But they are old. They are old enough to express a preference. So I will interview them solely about their preference. I do not quiz kids about what's going on in their home when I have these private conferences.
I just wanted to say that I think that that is very healthy and that's probably really wise. I don't want my children to have to be involved in any of this, but yeah, all 4 of them would be wise to talk to all of them. I just wanted to say I've only seen them for just 1 day since they were taken away, and they have changed kind of a lot throughout this time and being talked to by a lot of spiritual leaders. They're going to a lot of religious counseling. So they've been being prepped for this whole situation. They're crying, thinking I'm going to hell. So they've been put a lot in their minds that I have done something wrong in life. And just the opposite is true. I've been doing all this for them and for our legacy to be the best father that I can be in every way. So I just wanted to mention that just because I think that that is wise to mention that they have been getting weekly and continual pressure from that whole side religiously. And it's been way too much for them. It's been way, way, way too much for them. And they just need love and just allow them to do whatever they want to in life and people to support them. But they have just so many rules and regulations and so many things that are just way above their mindset religiously to think about death and to think about death all the time and be told their father's going to die and be separated from them is way a lot. And I'm the only one dealing with this with the children. And I'm the only one that's just loving them through that. And they can just see it's not true. And as soon as they get my presence and feel my love and feel the connection, all that stuff melts away. But when they're not around me, I can see that they're being hit with that a lot. And it's just been really hard for them. So I just wanted to say that as well. Thank you, sir.
All right, I will find a date for this hearing. And then, Ms. Laux, I will have either Peter or Dawn get a hold of you to arrange a time for Mom to bring in. We are in a lockdown again at the courthouse. We moved back to phase 2. I really prefer meeting face to face with children. It's just, it doesn't work over the virtual. For an older kid, it would, but these kids are not that old. And I think a face-to-face is the only practical way for me to do that. So we will find a date. We'll try to get you in just as soon as possible. And you'll be notified of the date well in advance.
Your Honor, did you want me to prepare an order that specifically modifies the temporary order and also says that we're going to have an evidentiary hearing, and pending that hearing, the visits will be supervised?
Yes, and supervised specifically by Mr. White at his parents.
Okay.
Mr. White's parents at their home. Also, make sure you include in the order that I will be addressing the stimulus payments.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll get to work finding you a date.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, Your Honor. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And for you, Mrs. Joanne, thank you very much for your time and blessings to you.